out. Here we are, Gladiators Legion versus OpTic Academy, first map of the night.
And this shouldn't really be coming as a surprise of the OpTics coming in with the Tracer Sombra here, because one thing that's been established is that Keller much more comfortable in the hit scan than the projectile heroes, and this actually allows OpTic to run that double hit scan.
Yeah, with the Lucio speed boost too, they're going to be able to get onto the into the fight much quicker. That's going to allow Keller to get in position, try and get a good hack off, but no, never mind. He goes straight into the fire of Corey, goes down first.
And that was a very quick adaptation by Rolf as well. Rolf just got the Discord Orb up immediately, dealt with the threat in the moment, and Legion get that early advantage. And it's also good for Blase here, where we're running this Junkrat. It's difficult to use it effectively in the beginning, but now you get to play these choke points that OpTic must move on through. So Blase is going to start to get good value here in all likelihood, but they got to go down and actually secure this point. They haven't gotten it here yet as OpTic moves in, and Gray got Corey.
Yeah, that entire time, though, even though Blase was on the high ground, he wasn't getting any damage across. Take a look, he's only at 22%. Now he is starting to connect with those rockets. But with Gray falling, Sharp comes in, two-man pulse bomb. OpTic Academy gonna force back Gladiators Legion, already securing 10% for themselves, have OpTic Academy.
And that's the X factor from OpTic, right? Is that Sharp has put on consistent show after consistent show. And for Legion, now it's like, okay, Corey, you need to check Sharp, pure and simple.
The Legion, they're gonna try and take the high ground here as they make their next approach. That's going to allow Blase to come out now. He's going to control space with that mine, with the trap, and now they push forward. It's Sharp that goes down to Rolf.
All right, Rolf, you can also control Sharp. Find him in the moment. An early Zed pickoff as both Zenyatta's coming to play in spades here early on. The Legion taking advantage of that man advantage now, just looking to push OpTic off. OpTic looking to delay. Gray comes in transcends. He saved everyone in the moment. Got Smurf back in the fight when he was about to go down. Now, full out of it, aid gone. That only buys them time, but it's not a bad contribution.
Yeah, they use the Transcendence just to extend out that lead a little bit further. They're now at 52%. Legion, in that last fight, all they really expended was on the onset of the fight where they used the Valkyrie. That made OpTic Academy just fall back. They were trying to wait out the duration of it. But, of course, that created the space for Rolf to be able to get the shots, take out Sharp, and then from there it all just went downhill.
And Legion can make up a lot of room here, and Blase's probably wishing that he didn't use this Tire. Got the kill on Keller right before. Tire gonna come out, doesn't even get the kill. In fact, that's gonna feed ult the other way, but Legion's still working with an edge right now.
The Resurrection was used by Pooks, though, so there is a window for OpTic to come in, and they have that vulnerability where they're not going to be able to possibly get another Resurrection off. There they go, the dive comes on in. Sharp is lurking in the back as the Transcendence was pumped out early from Rolf here. Primal Rage will be used by Smurf, but Bull gets D-Mech. There's the pulse bomb, it connects. Blase goes down, but still, kills are going in favor of the Legion.
Legion holding on to their position. Sharp still putting in a lot of damage on the outside, but the mountain he would have to climb to bring this back the other way is pretty enormous. OpTic, though, playing the objective, got 3/4 there, but it's going to be clean up for the Legion as, well, time to go mountain climbing the other direction, says Keller.
Keller hasn't been able to do much with these EMPs. Maybe it's about time for him to swap off. I don't know who he would go to. It looks like it will be the Genji. Full on dive now as OpTic Academy. It's coming down to one final team fight, possibly here on Village, for them to wrestle control away from the Legion, keep it alive.
And it's going to be on Gray here, right? Where Gray needs to not get picked off early, can't be forced out on the Transcendence, but and Hanker forces the Transcend immediately as he leaps in, but you see what's going on here. Smurf is on the other side. He got picked off. He wasn't able to take advantage of that Transcendent because it was forced out, and the Legion are holding on strongly versus OpTic. Now that's 97%. Is OpTic going to be able to get back here? Absolutely not. First round going to the Legion.
Blase had a little bit of a slow start on that Junkrat, but of course we know once he gets going, once he gets positioned and is able to spam the angles, it becomes so difficult for OpTic to actually get in onto the point and get onto the point safely. We saw Sharp having to deal with the traps, having to deal with the mines, and of course constantly Corey checking him for the majority of that. Now, as we move on to Shrine here, things might be a little bit different. There are so many different angles that Sharp can take here. He could try to avoid Corey.
One thing that's worth noting is that the Legion, they're deciding to stay with the Junkrat here. The Junkrat, not quite as effective. I mean, it still can very much work on Shrine, but it's not going to be as good as what it is on Village. And there's room for McCree to shine here, and we'll see what Keller does.
Now, the Legion 1 point away from walking away with the first map. Fusion University, that was the roadmap to the finals. Let's see if they can continue this tradition now, as Legion have already made their way onto the point here. This is where OpTic Academy have to be careful. The Junkrat's map comes from so many different angles that you have to just back away from this. Take a look at how much damage is going across. But
they also have many avenues of engagement here that can get around the spam on the same point. They move on in the middle of it, and they're actually doing a reasonable job. Now, they almost get poked down. Smurf just barely able to get away. Sharp loses to Corey on the outskirts. Corey had the support, and now off that pickoff, they got Pinker on the other end. So both teams have lost pretty serious resources, but Corey looking for Zen and the dead end knife as Blasé just runs Keller right over. This is gonna be Legion's first take.
The Resurrection comes out from Aid also. That's just gonna stagger them even further now. Legion, they've already secured 20%. They're picking up more staggered kills. Aid falls now, and they're still feeding on kills over.
Corey on cleanup duty right now, throwing the rest of OpTic right back to their spawn where it's like, hey, you forgot to go back here. Let me help.
Yeah, this is where you need to just full reset OpTic. You can't lose any more valuable time. Remember, the percentages are resources, and you need to maintain as much of it as possible. And make sure you don't get into too much of a deficit. Oh, Corey has been so good all map long about keeping Sharp checked.
To be fair there, I think that was more the Junkrat trap. Yeah. He just stepped in the trap. He's like, I think I'll shoot you now. This is fine.
But we were talking about how Sharp is just able to have so much presence all across the map. It's Corey now that is just absolutely everywhere, dominating every single space and zone that OpTic Academy tried to push in on from. And now Blasé, he spotted them out from mid. He's got the trap there, so they have to be careful. Does OpTic when they try to go in for the dive?
Corey able to get away from the flashbang. Pulse bomb up, moves in with the stick, gonna be looking at the Dean back, and does fall out of the fight essentially very early on. We'll see if he can get back in. It's gonna put a lot of pressure on Smurf, who's getting focused down. He's so close to a Primal Rage, and yet not at the same time. 92% has to back out of the fight. But meanwhile, you look at Vol, he's going the other way. Keller assassinates the tire, and if Vol can get back into a mech, OpTic might be able to go for that sloppy re-engage, and oh my word! Sharp just blown up by gods.
Just everyone has Sharp's number. Now they're on the hunt for Keller. He's about to go down. He's getting hunted down by the Winston here. Primal Rage was used by Smurf just to try and keep this alive as overtime ticks away. Legion with the pulse bomb, with the bang, looking to finish out this map and take the first point in this best-of-5 series. Now they just need to clean up Sharp. He is getting hunted down. The Orb of Discord is on him once again. Overtime ticks away. The Legion will take the 2-0 victory here on Nepal.
And it was impressive, outright impressive, where even though Sharp had some moments in the beginning, overall Legion was a far more well-rounded team, at least here on this first map.
Yeah, you know, it looked like they like you said, they got Sharp's number and they weren't letting it go. Now, we had talked before the map started that that's kind of Gladiators' Achilles heel, right? Is to focus down specifically Gods and Panker, and, you know, Gladiators, in order to win, then has to refocus when somebody is so far focused on those two. Let's go in and clean up the rest of the team. Now, how can OpTic kind of capitalize on that same idea? Okay, everybody's diving Sharp, let's go to work.
I want to say one of the issues here was that in that TVT, in the Tracer versus Tracers, that the resources were allocated in completely different ways. Because Blasé was on that Junkrat, he was dishing out so much damage to the tanks that the Zen healing was prioritized onto the tanks because, well, you want to keep your tanks alive. That means that Sharp, he doesn't have the orbs on him, that he's not able to take these TVTs because, well, Corey does have the orbs.
I would say a slightly different take there, where I think it's more Junkrat is an obstacle to a Tracer. You have to worry about traps, you have to worry about how close you go. Corey had more room to work with, whereas Sharp had to worry about not only Corey checking him, but the Junkrat at the same time, which is just an extra level of thing for a Tracer that you don't really want to worry about when you have someone just hunting you down the entire game.
Yeah, and you guys mentioned Gray. Gray did have his hands full in that match. We got a chance to catch up with Gray earlier in the week as well, and we had some questions for him, kind of thoughts on how he feels now with the spotlight on him being such a focus on this team. Let's take a look and see what he had to say.
This is Heroes Rising, presented to you by Old Spice.
Old Spice hand gem. Get good, get gains.
Contenders interview take 5 with Gray.
My name is Louis. My battle tag is Gray. I play flag support for OpTic Academy.
You see Gray right now coming in from the side. Watch him pick off 3.
I'm from Portugal, and currently I'm residing in Texas, in Frisco.
So Gray pokes his head out.
Portugal is just a really nice country. I've loved being raised there, but I just moved to the US to play on Contenders. It's different, it's fun. After all, wherever we are gamers. We just sit in the computer and we game.
Great. Forced back. Plenty of room to work with here.
He spotted out the Mercy.
Gets the headshot there.
I was an electrical engineering student, and just one semester away from finishing my master's, I stopped it and I started playing a lot of Overwatch.
Gray way far in the back. He draws the pressure of Winston.
My family was supportive, but it was weird for them because of the timing. It's not that they didn't support me, it was more like, why don't you do this 5 months from now? It's just 5 months.
Gray's already there. This is oppression.
And I couldn't argue, they were just being logical. They weren't being unsupportive, they were being logical. I just had to say, this is something I have to do. And they supported me through and through. I think I'm really good at identifying win conditions, both pre-fight and mid-fight.
Gray was able to find one onto Beast Halo.
Both from my perspective, from microplay, but also from a macro point of view, like telling my team how we should approach a fight.
But that's a huge pickoff.
And I think that's what puts me one step above my competition.
Gray, though, finally does answer back.
I think to get into the Overwatch League, you have to be at the top of the top and show that you can handle it.
Gray, he's not with the rest of his team. Gray's like, I'll take this fight.
There's a lot of dedication that has to go into it, but it's not just dedication. You have to be smart, you have to be studying the game, watching it, thinking about it. It's all a lot of effort going into it, I feel like.
I like the games you play. I like the game.
I think getting into Overwatch League will be like a goal. It will be like walking into this stage, going to play, you will think, I've made it, but the real goal is to actually win Overwatch League.
Something that really struck me that he talked about was the ability to see win conditions. What would be a win condition for OpTic going into this next map?
I mean, that's difficult to say because we have to be in game for that. But you know, you weren't able to really spot it out there because in the first matchup, he was having such a difficult time just staying alive, right? I think he was not able to find any of those win conditions because he was constantly being pressured down by Corey. Corey was all over him and, well, the entirety of that OpTic lineup.
Yeah, and I would say in terms of win conditions, a lot of it comes down to the idea that you're playing Zenyatta, right? You're in the back, and you see that guy's a little bit out of position, and you throw a Discord orb on him. That's where you tell everyone's like, kill this guy, and we win the fight. You make that call in the moment, and it's up to your team to follow through, and that's something that Gray is generally pretty vocal and pretty good at, something he prides himself on, but I gotta say, overall, they are up against a very tough opponent, Legion, where just roll for roll, they are playing against them really well. And one thing that we mentioned is kind of, could have been an Achilles heel, kind of is right now, where we're seeing a lot more from Blase than we have from Keller.
Keller has been really quiet throughout this series, throughout this map. I mean, it's only been the one so far, but that's kind of the worry that we have about this OpTic Academy squad. When Rena did come in for him, he did actually have a huge impact in those matches that Rena was in. Keller so far, though, we're still relying upon him. We're still waiting to see what he can do. When he did go over to that Genji, that's where I was expecting him to explode when we were on, I believe, Village, but he didn't have enough time. I'm hoping that they do just go back to the dive. I mean, that's what we're expecting out of both of these teams, that we're just going to see dive versus dive. So maybe Keller just goes back onto that Genji, be a bit more comfortable there.
We are heading into our next map selection. We are going to be going to Hollywood. Now, as far as dive versus dive, we see that quite a bit in Hollywood after first point. What do you guys see, or I guess hoping to see at first point Hollywood?
I actually think this could be really good for the Legion, and part of why I say that is that you think about how second point Hollywood goes, is that it's probably one of the most Tracer v Tracer intensive points in the entire game, which means that if Corey's game plan is to get in Sharp's face as often as possible, you're not going to get a better opportunity than moving into Hollywood on second. So even though historically this is a pretty good map for OpTic, particularly because not only do they have good tank play, but Sharp usually has a field day, this might uniquely go into a situation where the Legion might have the better of it.
This might also be a position where Keller is going to play more of that Sombra. We did see him a little bit there on Village pull it out, but we do see a lot of teams relying upon the Sombra in second, and why not? You can build up the EMP. There are a lot of different routes for you to try and get in from the left-hand side, the right-hand side, over the top also to build up that EMP, but help him actually help Sharp with the health pack controls, because Sharp was having a difficult time just trying to keep track of Corey.
All righty, well, we're going to go ahead and head into game now to see if we can get a little bit of footing there for OpTic Academy against Gladiators Legion here on Hollywood.
All right, and OpTic will be going a slightly different strategy this time around. They're going to be running with the Zarya and a Pharah in play. Now, actually, I don't know. We're really going to see Smurf on Zarya. I'm looking at this like,
yeah,
no, that doesn't make that much sense unless they're going with something really crazy. I'd probably expect Smurf to swap off, but the Pharah I can totally believe, especially because we have 8 on the Mercy.
Definitely not used to seeing a Diva Zarya tank combo. There it is, the swap comes out. This looks more to their flavor here. So Smurf and Vol look to them just to jump on top of Panker along with Blase, help him deal with that and make sure that, you know, no one's looking towards the sky, towards Keller here.
And part of why this could be effective too is that you look at OpTic's game tape, you don't really expect to see the Pharah come out. I mean, it's not the first time they've run this, but it's not something they like running all the time. So you're going to see Keller move out here. Very nice rockets into the cafe. But giving Blase something to worry about is Blase is more worried about the ground. OpTic, at some point though, they need to take advantage and move on in. They're spending a lot of time in poke. They haven't dove in, and oh, there it is, over the top. Corey taken down. The rocket plus Smurfs engage gives OpTic the early edge here, and now they just have to try and contain Legion in the cafe.
One tick has already been secured, and Keller is on top of them in the cafe. Pooks was able to get the res back onto Blase, bringing him back into this, but that's their second tick going over for OpTic Academy. Legion need to step out, and now they will, but Gods gets demegged. He's gonna get destroyed by Keller now, who has gone completely uncontested in the sky. That's allowing the rest of the ground members just to clean up easily here. Keller now with the 4K to close it out.
That was just cleanup towards the end where it was more of a reset, but still, that's going to feed him the barrage. More importantly, Sharp and Smurf followed up on that so well.
And that's what you need to do with the Pharah. When you do have the damage boosted rockets, the chunks out those squishier targets. 200 HP becomes 50 really quickly, and that's what a Winston wants to dive upon.
And now you look at Sharp. Sharp setting up for the ambush right now, going, man, I sure hope someone's on the ground floor. But that's not going to be the case. Legion's on the top, but Smurf and Vol, well-coordinated, diving in, the barrage backing up, but the barrage was a little bit preemptive. Keller falls immediately, but Sharp on the flip side found Rulf. Here's Blase looking for room, tire out. It was gonna go for Sharp, but Corey took him down in the moment off that Widow swap, and the Legion easily pushes back the other way.
This is what we see a lot of teams default to once we get to second. Go for the Junkrat or the Widowmaker instead. They're going to go for both here. They have just so much long-range poke that it becomes difficult for a dive composition to even come out. Now, OpTic, they're going to swap off themselves. Keller has now gone on to the Widowmaker, but this is so dangerous. Trying to peek as a Widowmaker into already established positions of the defense.
OpTic off the swap, they're going to be relying a lot on Keller here, the deal with Corey. Now there's a little bit of a different look. They're deciding that, okay, they don't want to put Sharp on it. See if Keller can make the most of this Widow play here. Has opportunities, doesn't convert as the Legion go, we're good. They transcend, they dive on into the fight, but they also don't make the most of it. It's a little bit ill-timed. Blase got bopped around by Smurf and just went super deep. It was a Primal Rage off the other side, got him out of the Transcendence, and gets the one-man advantage for OpTic early into this fight.
They were still able to ban out a lot of bullets with Primal Rage being used now. Keller does have the pocket of the Mercy. He stays alive. Panker has to back away as Gods is about to get demegged there. It's Corey with the opening to take Keller out, but they should be able to res this back on in.
This has been a very strange fight here so far, but God's unable to remech. Legion getting forced back a bit, but Wolf winning that Zen v Zen. That gives more room here for the Legion. You see Panker doing really well, just moving in, getting healed, backing up the other way as Blase's tire gets aid, and with Corey getting gray on the other side, there is no more lifeline for OpTic. This will force some resets.
They get it so close to that second checkpoint, but they're going to be forced back again. This is where a lot of teams, we do have them running into issues. Just finishing out second here is very close to, well, like Dorado, where a lot of teams can get gummed up because of the respawn distances. It's so far and so near for the defense now. Corey, once again, as his Infrasight does dwindle away. He will fall back, and he's got the pocket of that Mercy. Both of them do. They do a lot of damage to the tank, so Keller and Smurf have to be careful on their approaches in.
OpTic starting the run low in time. 2.5 minutes. If this push doesn't go their way, it could be looking very good for the Legion overall. Keller, though, gets his revenge, gets Corey early on. Now, Pooks is going to bring that back up. It's not a full advantage just yet. But now, any death would be permanent. OpTic moving the other way. Keller not going to get the damage onto the D.Va, but comes around the other side. The fight being slow to take form, but now a little bit more exciting. The Transcendence in from Gray. OpTic fully engaging here in the moment as Smurf diving in, looking for the Mercy. Steeping Honor gets Pooks. What excellent Winston control.
And now Sharp is here for the cleanup, already taking out Blase. OpTic Academy with 1 minute and 45 seconds left, just cleaning up the members of Gladiators Legion so they can secure this second checkpoint now. But again, it's the respawn distances. They were able to clean up Corey, and now it looks like no one should come out to contest here. They're just going to feed on over. They need to reset and set up for the 3rd point, but they are getting dove upon.
I gotta say, being able to stand on Mercy like that is not easy. Smurf made it look like another day at the office as the Legion, they're getting staggered. They had respawns at spawn right before it was captured. It puts them in a rough spot, and oh my goodness, you want to talk about staggering. Sharp is thinking about it, but might be best to wait.
He's still lying in wait here underneath them. So he's just waiting to cut anyone off. As soon as they come in for the recontest, he is forced back. They've been spotted out by the entirety of Gladiators Legion. He still has this pulse bomb ready. Gods has to be careful. He's gonna get DMX soon.
Gods desperately trying to stay alive. Blase coming on the other end. Here's a tire and could give the Legion exactly what they want. A little bit of razzle-dazzle to the top, but does not get what he's looking for. OpTic able to stand against the tire. Legion holding back, but still poking in such a way that OpTic doesn't feel comfortable engaging. But you see Smurf gets super low, able to back out. Is Gray gonna transcend to save him here? Smurf's still under fire as Keller got Rulf, gets the pick they're looking for. God's gonna get DMAC'd on the side. Sharp opened up the chase in. What Smurf is starting here besides, no, I'm gonna hide back.
That was such a good time for OpTic to take this fight now. They're going to be under pressure just to come out to contest the point now. It's just mere meters away for OpTic Academy to finish this off and finish this off with time. Corey over the top, just pressuring Keller back, but this is where Keller wants to be. He's got the sight lines onto the payload. Someone has to go and contest.
Panker goes down. They got Panker early on. That's enemy number 1 if you're against the Legion. That's why they're using the Transcend here, but the self-destruct coming out from Gods buys time where OpTic really wanted to go in. It nullifies most of the Transcendence right in the moment. Keller still looking for pickoffs. It's been a while since his last. Not able to get the one there. Corey working the backline pretty effectively. And here's another tire from Blase. This time, it should be a cleanup tire as it rolls for anyone on OpTic. 3 seconds left, and oh, Aid, you are without a hope.
OpTic Academy now coming down to what could be their final fight. Keller has swapped off from that Widowmaker onto the Sombra now, and so we'll see if he has enough time. He does have 55 seconds to try and build up that EMP. Remember, this is the buff/nerf Sombra where it becomes much more difficult to build up that EMP because you don't get the ultimate charge off the hacked health packs. Maybe he's going to try and focus on Gods and Panker, try to get the individual hacks onto them. We'll see.
The key here is going to be getting up Pooks, where Pooks has the Valkyrie up, but with 8 about to get up and turn, you're just going to have 2 flying Mercies. If you can get the other Mercy here early, that's going to be big, especially as neither Zen's super close to getting a Transcendence. And Pooks going to be first to take flight, just immediately getting away from Smurf's engage, and Smurf's getting pummeled for it too. Super low. Oh my goodness, is he going to live? Smurf gets healed back up in time. Aid was right with him. OpTic still very much in this fight. The counter engage from Legion does not get what they want, and it's a tank line of Vol and Smurf leading the way for OpTic right now, piercing on through because Smurf stayed alive, and OpTic 2 seconds left. Even a second left on the clock would be big, but no, it's an overtime, and they'll have to take what they can get as the pressure is still on.
They still have to contend with Gods here, but with the booster, with the melee, they will be able to take him out. Blase falls as Panker makes his way onto the point once again. Transcendence is used, so they are stalling this out. Pooks even going over to the Moira now. Self-destruct might zone them off the point long enough because Panker had to use his Primal Rage, couldn't use his bubble to try and deflect that now. It is just cleanup for OpTic Academy. They will secure it, but most importantly, they secure it in overtime.
Of course, that's going to be giving the Legion a very good win condition if they can just simply get through with a little bit of time left on the clock. Not the easiest on Hollywood, but certainly not out of the possibility. One thing you have to note here, though, is what we didn't see, which was that we did not see Sharp having huge plays the way he normally does. And a lot of that, even though a lot of it wasn't on camera, it was Corey. Corey was constantly pressuring Sharp the entire while, and meant that on the OpTic side, Legion is saying, please, Keller, you're the one that has to beat us, or the tank play as a whole. And you saw that working out in OpTic's advantage to a degree at the very end, where Smurf went just deep enough, got saved by Aid at the right moment. They were able to take that fight, but OpTic's not able to rely on their strongest weapon as much, and we kind of figured this could be the case coming in.
And I like the reprioritization. Actually having Keller on that Widowmaker made a huge difference, especially when he had the pocket of Aid with that damage boost from the Mercy. He was able to chunk out Panker and keep him honest along with Gods. One headshot, one damage boosted headshot onto the tanks does so much damage that Panker has to just end his aggression right then and there and get healed back up. Kind of want to see that look out from them again. Of course, here on first, Keller will be on the Junkrat, but if Legion break through and we move on to second, I fully expect Keller to swap back over to that Widowmaker.
OpTic is not a team to stay on Junkrat through second. I mean, it's one thing if you have a Riptire up and ready, but if it's nowhere close, Keller will, as you mentioned, very likely go Widowmaker, could even go a 76, would not be unheard of. I do feel like OpTic is trending away from putting Keller on projectile DPS, aside from the fire, which did work out pretty well.
Now, for the Legion's attack, they're going to just start it out, you know, Corey coming out the gates with this Widowmaker himself. The duels did go back and forth, but it looks like he will be swapping off, possibly. He's still waiting at spawn, taking some damage. There we go. The swap comes out. He is, of course, going over to that Tracer. So Tracer Junkrat versus Tracer Junkrat here. Smurf has to be careful. He is going to be the primary target of this dive.
And this dive is going to be going quickly. You look at Panker's cooldowns, 3 seconds till the next leap. They're going to be going in very, very soon. Legion not one to mince words. They're very confident in their dives, working out in their favor. Blase laying in the Junkrat bombs over the top. Panker's already inside, and now they pressure the Cafe straight up. Both teams stringing out poke damage, both Breeze be alive, and Sharp gets the better of his nemesis. Corey falling early on, and what does this mean? This means Sharp has so much room to work with. No one's checking Sharp right now, and watch him go to work on the tanks.
He almost took down the Winston, but Panker did have the pocket of Pooks to keep him alive. But now Legion will be going ahead and retreating to reset now. Already a minute burned away off the clock of the Legion. Sharp sitting with this pulse on, just lurking away and trying to keep Corey zoned out.
That's the mini game that's going on right now, where Corey's constantly looking at Sharp. He's not letting Sharp get to the back line as much. And now, what do you see here once more? Tracer v Tracer in the back, but Sharp gets it that time. Had far more support in the moment. And what happens after you win the Tracer v Tracer? You go for the tanks. The immediate Diva DMAC and straight to the Winston. This has been the game plan for using Tracer for OpTic all season long, but it's also why it doesn't work when Corey's still alive. OpTic, overall fight-wise, a good spot. Oh no, Corey's back, gets his revenge, and this could be big for the Legion.
You just heard him just flashing around behind him now. The Riptire is used to clean up Panker, and he is not in a position to get res here. But Corey is still alive. Now it's Blase with his Riptire. Has to be careful because the self-destruct was on the field. It connects. Blase exchanging his life for Vol now. But still, that will work out now as Corey is still here on the point, but he's backing away. Has to use that recall. Pooks with the resurrection brings Blase back into this, and Corey somehow takes out Sharp.
Well, Sharp, he had to watch a step. He was in a Junkrat trap again. Blase playing this Junkrat is occasionally getting the better of Sharp, and it's making the difference right now, even on this attack. Panker gonna go wild in the Cafe. That's one way to take down a Mercy. Move out of the way. Hugh did not get his latte mocha the way he wanted it there as he picks up 4.
Panker, this has been the priority coming out from Legion. They're making sure that he stays alive, and you know, it's because he does actually, he's the go button for the team. He jumps in with that Winston, and Corey and Blase and Gods are all there to follow up with the extra damage for them to succeed. And so, even though Corey did fall a number of times to Sharp there in that attack onto point A, it's because they were making sure that Panker was staying alive.
It was a long slog, but now we go in the second. Both teams fighting for control on the top. Early tire out here from Keller, moving around, 79 HP, a little bit stuck, looking for whatever it can. Now going deep in and immediately removes Panker, but guess what? This game of Road Rash not over here just yet. A tire out from Blase. It's low, it's moving around, and it's gone.
It did keep OpTic Academy at bay, forced him back now. It's going to be the engage, but there's the pulse bomb. Will he get demagged? Volt does now, and they're pushing forward. Oh no! Keller going really aggressive, wasn't able to get the kill onto Corey, and that's going to allow the rest of the Legion to just mow on through OpTic Academy. They are steamrolling through second here.
Well-timed Transcendence from Rolf to make that possible. OpTic was going in, Rolf had nothing of it, transcends at the right time, and the Legion burst on through. 2 minutes and 44 seconds. They're ahead of where OpTic was, and Keller's had enough. He's going to Genji.
Corey's also swapped off himself. He is no longer on that Tracer. He's going over to the Widowmaker. So, the dive, he's got to be careful of his positioning. OpTic Academy are going to look to try and exploit that. Now, oh, Blaze's already started off. Keller's gone down, and he's going to be the recipient of that res.
Well, Rez out of the fight early on here as Blase continues to get more value than Junkrat than expected. Early Transcendence from Gray, not necessarily ideal. Legion able to very much disengage out of that. Now OpTic does have that resource, and Blase fire in the hole once more. He's been charging up tire after tire here, and that finds Smurf directly in the face. Here come the Legion, working out the 6v5 advantage. Corey looking for Keller. He gets the pocket. You can't fight that the way he would want to. And the Legion, if they can avoid the self-destruct, they do. They finish off full. Now they can move right in.
Now Corey is receiving that treatment, the focus treatment out from the DPS duo. Sharp and Keller have to back away. Sharp is solo, so is Keller now. They don't have any heals there. It's going to be the Transcendence out from the Legion as they finish off the members of OpTic Academy.
How many traps is Blase going to land? That's why Smurf was just doing the tornado there. His foot was stuck on the trap on top of the limo. The Legion picking off another 3. And look, Junkrat isn't always ideal in these situations, but Blase is making it work, and OpTic has not had an answer for this rat play.
And the Legion, they just have every single move just planned out. Corey's already swapped off now. He's going on to the Tracer. They're able to get the staggered elimination onto Smurf, hunt down even more. They've got to be careful. Coming into this next fight, Keller will have that blade. We saw Rolf, he used the Transcendence towards the latter end of that fight just to finish it out. He's at 60%, but knowing Rolf, he's going to be able to land those orbs. He's going to be able to build up that Transcendence.
Tire coming out here early. For OpTic, you don't want to use the blade till this tire's dealt with. Gray gets rid of the threat. Smurf's gone early though, which means Keller, pressure on him to bring this back the other way. Sharp's gone. Do you blade or do you wait? And they decide to go in. Transcendence in. Reflect onto Rolf. Keller with the blade looking for more. Only one here so far off the deflect, but it's enough damage overall for OpTic to make this not the worst decision in the world, given how it started.
Rolf is just looking over at Blase like, why don't you stop firing? He's deflecting. You got me killed, man. Oh, okay. It's Sharp. Actually takes Blase out with that pulse bomb, and this is what OpTic Academy want. They want to be able to burn away the clock. This is a great place to stop them now. It doesn't look like the Legion are going to be able to finish this out with more than a minute. So OpTic Academy are keeping their hopes alive in this map.
Big part here for the Legion is going to be what does next tire from Blase do? He's going to have it towards the end of this fight, maybe mid-fight if he chunks a lot of people. Meanwhile, they haven't really been able to flank this side the way they would like. This is a little bit more defensive favor. Early Transcendence from Rolf as OpTic tries to move in. Going to be matched by the Valkyrie on the other side. And that's kind of a win for OpTic there, where they don't fall to the Transcendence at the moment. You see the pulse bomb out from Corey. Not quite able to get the DMAC, but does find Smurf on the other end. OpTic losing their lifeline in Gray, and now the Legion off a 2-man advantage, led by Corey, leading the way through.
Panker is just setting up so many of these kills with that last Primal Rage. He's able to isolate so many vulnerable targets now. It's coming down to the last 40 seconds here. Gladiators Legion, they need to complete this out because OpTic Academy finished it off themselves. Blase now with the Riptire is going to try and cover the left side spawn. He's in over the top. That's keeping them out of this fight. Blase takes out Gray.
Big tire in the beginning. Now you can't Discord Orb and knock people out of the fight the way that they would like to. OpTic working at disadvantage, but here comes Sharp. Pulse bomb out on both sides. Tracers can tell the tale. Smurf tracked right on down. Sharp, a pulse bomb is owned to the other side. Not getting what he needs, but Keller with the blade. Dashing into the back. A Transcendence out from OpTic. Not sure they needed it, but they will be holding for now. 9 seconds left. The hold now very likely.
OpTic just able to buy enough time, even though Gray was the first members to go down there. The fact that he had Transcendence allowed him to come back in at a very crucial time. Overtime ticking away, they are able to touch the point. Now Panker backs away as Gods rotates his way on in. 1-for-1 exchange, Blase is gone. That is their DPS.
That Transcendence could have come back to haunt OpTic here because the Legion able to initiate off of Rulf. Now Corey got picked off. Gray got him right in the boat with the headshot. Both teams fighting tooth and nail here on this point. Vol though, out of it. A slight tank edge here for the offense. They need to get rid of Gods, and Gods is thrown off. Sharp back in the fight. Keller sniped on down. Here comes Panker. Primal Rage just being a bodyguard on the doors. Overtime in progress. And my word, we're not out of this here just yet. Of course it goes to extra rounds.
Extra rounds, 1 minute per side. And this is what we were expecting out of this matchup. Just blow for blow between both teams. It is living up to our expectations now. It is, looks like going to be, who's starting off first? It should be OpTic, right? Because they did have the longer overtime.
I don't know if the longer overtime has gone into it, but yeah, I think you're right. It is going to be OpTic first here.
And so now Gladiators Legion on the defense. Are they going to change anything up? Not really. This is just the typical defense that we do see here on Hollywood Point A. You got Panker, of course, on the Theresa, and Gods on the Diva. Blase picking up the Junkrat, and Corey, of course, on the Tracer. I mean, this is the combination that has worked out for them, minus, of course, Panker on the Theresa. He would love to be on the Winston, but she is so crucial to this defense, especially with how people hold inside Cafe.
One thing I would note as I look at this here from OpTic is that I don't know if the Pharah on offense is the right move here. Yes, it worked out really well for them the first time around, but Pharah on offense is a slower burn. Because you're going for poke and you're waiting for your opportunity, it's very likely OpTic only gets one good attack here as opposed to two, and that can be a crucial difference.
Last time, though, they were able to rely upon Keller. He got the initial pick onto Corey, the damage boosted rockets, just one-shotting him, and then from there opening the way. So we'll see if he can get that spam down onto them. It is the Junkrat in the Cafe that he is focusing on right now. But now he's going to go ahead and concussion mine himself in.
Okay.
Oh, Gray, with the help of the Mercy, will take out Blase, forcing out that instant res.
It was a rocket zone. Gray gets another! Gray having a huge impact early on. 2 finishing blows. And now Keller goes, I have nothing to fear. I'm going straight to this Cafe. OpTic putting the foot on the throat right now as they engage the Legion from all sides. That is the power of a Zen that can open things up. Could go the other way now. Keller might be out of the sky, and Panker's still alive. He's still up here. Sharp not be able to finish him off. Finally, he falls, and OpTic still looking quite good on this attack.
They've already secured 2 ticks. The res comes back in. Panker will be able to step onto the point. They're about to get the Valkyrie up. It's going to be the Valkyrie out for OpTic first, though. Pooks is still struggling to get it now. Panker and Gods low as overtime ticks away. Gods gets demeched, and now they are running out of options as both tanks are gone. The Legion are about to get evicted from the point, and OpTic will be able to extend this lead even further.
Gods was heard yelling bunny hop towards the end there, and I understand why Legion comes out and contests this. You have to. They had a decent chance, but OpTic responds to it really well. And here's the flip side. When you decide to engage in a moment like that, you have fed a lot of ultimates the other way. OpTic is stacked for point B.
And Corey has just since swapped off onto that Widowmaker. He's going to try and deal with Keller in the sky. And Keller is going to try and get aggressive with that barrage. We'll see if he's going to be able to get into position. The difficulty of trying to run that far further here into second is just that, well, there's so much high ground for the tanks to exploit there.
Tire, this is one way you can deal with a huge ult advantage. Have this Tire just set them on fire, going to the back. Gret Sharp, that's a big threat out of the fight. But Pooks, or on the other end, Aid can bring Sharp back up if they hold it, and they do. The Resurrection is up. It's not punished. You see OpTic throwing everything they have into this fight. Sharp goes down again. Corey got him. Barrage, ground level from Keller, used on Panker, as Corey continues to take down player after player. All the ults in the world might not have saved OpTic here from Corey's wrath. The Legion hold right on point B.
Still with a minute. Getting point A and then moving this payload this far is pretty good. It's not as far as we've seen a lot of these overtime pushes come, but you know, you do have that win condition here. So all they need to do now is just hold on point A or just hold right before there, and OpTic will be able to tie this up. Taking a look It's going to be the same defense coming out from OpTic that we saw out of Gladiators Legion. You got the Tracer along with that Junkrat. I want to look towards Gray once again. He opened the door for them. 2 huge pickoffs. That is the man that we know. This is one of those Zenyatta players that we saw last year just really come to the forefront amongst the flex supports.
Well, look, there's a lot to be said in Overwatch about it being very difficult to win without a good Tracer, but one thing that we see in championship-level teams, and both Legion and OpTic have this here, is that you need Zenyatas that give you kill contribution. You can be the best support-oriented player ever. If you're not getting kills on your Zen, you're probably not on a team that's in first. So both teams doing quite well in that regard. 12 seconds left. We'll see where it goes.
The Legion. They've changed it up just a bit. Rolf is now over to that Moira. So they're going to go for a very heavy healing style along with very dive heavy. It's going to be all 6 members just pouncing onto the targets here. They've got to be careful, though, because they are going to be jumping right into a Junkrat. Pinker already down to 300 HP, gets healed back on up. But that means that Rolf...
Oh, the nice halt!
Gets just pulled back.
That halt set up Rolf for failure. Smurf could not have timed that any better in the moment, and that gives the margin of error here just 1 fight for the Legion. That's all they're going to have when Rolf gets back.
Because he did go down there, he's not going to have that really early power spike that a lot of Moiras have. He's only at 27% now towards his Coalescence. Corey will be met by Sharp in the back, but they are going in for that dive. There it is. The orb gets eaten up, so that damage is gone and mitigated.
Legion trying to get into the cafe. OpTic backing up. Everyone OpTic's looking at Sharpo taken down by Corey, and Gods finishes his plate right in the moment. And man advantage, the Legion bursting on through. OpTic unlikely to hold now. There's very little they can do. Gray might have gotten Gods on the other end. Gray picks up too. Okay. OpTic's trying to come back in. It's still in overtime. And now OpTic moving back the other way. Now, no, Gods is still around. He's in Baby Diva form, and OpTic actually fighting back on in. Respawn's coming in, overtime ticking down. Sharp comes in from the flank, back into the fight, gets on Pinker, Pulse Bomb out, and no, OpTic unable to keep contesting.
And that was key for them to contest there, because now Keller has the Riptire. That's how Gladiators Legion were able to put a stop to the offense before, using their own Riptire. So Keller, Sharp, we've got all the bombs almost on the plate. Vol now at 70% towards his self-destruct. But most importantly, Gray's gonna have that transcendence for this last fight.
A huge advantage for OpTic Academy. This should be a moment where if you're a championship team, you win this fight. Legion are working at a huge disadvantage. Keller at the tire. So much riding on it now. Gets 2! The dream for OpTic comes true as Sharp finishes off on the other end, gets rid of Gods, and Blase not even able to bring out the blade. We got ourselves a series. It's 1-1.
So we saw a lot of kind of mirrored team compositions there, back and forth between the offense and defense. What is the strategy behind that? Like, does it come down to the fact that all the players are playing all the same heroes, or is there an actual strategy that underlies that as well?
I mean, it's basically just teams thinking it's the optimized kind of composition to run on certain points, and especially there on Hollywood Point A, we don't see that much deviation from it. Maybe at best, like, the only deviation we'll see is that instead of running the Orisa Diva, they'll go with Orisa Hog, or just go for the full-on dive defense that we saw like on Horizon earlier today, where it's just normal dive.
Also, I mean, these are proven team compositions, and for these teams, they have very similar styles in general. So the only reason why you would deviate and not run a mirror in terms of how both teams are playing at certain points is if, for whatever reason, you felt that you saw something in the other team that'd be like, yeah, I want to change my normal game plan. But both these teams are confident in their fastball, and hey, you want to talk about versatility paying off. Keller had a great showing here in Farah both times around.
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask you about that. It seems that when you saw that Farah Tracer come out, you guys kind of raised an eyebrow at that. Is that not something standard that we would see normally?
Well, what ZP mentioned was that on your first attack, it's fine. You have 4 minutes. But on your second attack, when you only have that 1 minute, you're really relying upon that damage-boosted rocket to come up with a huge pick, and that is a really big gamble to actually take.
Right, and I mean, Farah is part art, part science, right? Where after you let loose the projectile, there's no guarantee that people are going to move in the way you want, where you can have very good prediction, but sometimes it doesn't work out, which means that even the best of teams at running Farah on that point might have to take a little bit longer, where it might take about a minute and a half until you get the opportunity you're looking for. Farah's just a slower bird turn at moving in, so it was a risk that OpTic took deciding to run it the second time around, but it's a risk that did end up paying off in no small part due to Gray.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of this playback that we have of Gray on his Zenyatta, really just doing everything in his power, not just to keep his team alive, but to keep the other team as vulnerable as possible.
I mean, that's just the hallmark of a great Zen. He already knew all the angles, so before he's even coming around the corners, he's already pre-aiming them. That's what you need to do with the Zenyatta. Like, if you're going to spam those angles, spam the ones that have the highest probability of a target being there, and then, of course, being able to perfectly line up the headshot for it. You saw he was able to get the Tracer. The Tracer is not an easy target to hit.
No, not in the least. And again, sort of going to this consistent theme that you see not only in Contenders, but certainly in things like Overwatch League, when you look at supports like Jonak, is that, look, pickoffs are huge in Overwatch. It is what can determine how a team fight goes, what team is the aggressor, what team has to bend back. If you can get pickoffs from your Zenyatta in the same vein that you would expect to get from DPS like a Widowmaker, otherwise, you are way ahead of the game because you're just going to have fights where it's just like, well, this wasn't intended, but the Zen played so well and put himself in such good odds to get someone that eventually it pays off and you get a fight much easier.
Alrighty, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we are joining up on a tied series, 1-1, Gladiators Legion versus OpTic Academy. Let's see who wins. Stay tuned.